The 5 laws of gold, this is all critically important to me. You've heard me say many times, I do believe that I provide value. I think the things that we do, not just me, the things that we do are as important to people as if we were their minister, if we were their physician. Because if we help people no longer have financial pressure, then that makes such a big difference on literally every other part of life. I wish it wasn't true, but it is true. And so, without having this up here, how many of you know the 5 laws of gold right now? Do you know the 5 laws of gold? If you don't know the 5 laws of gold, then I can tell you in advance you are violating one or more of them. And if you're violating one or more of them, your finances are not what you'd like them to be. If you're violating 2 or more of them, you've got financial pressure you'd rather not have. If you're violating 3 or more, the financial pressure is somewhat acute. If you're violating 4 or more, you're getting pretty close to bankruptcy. And so, what are the 5 laws of gold? This, of course, was taught by George S. Clason. He wrote what I consider to be one of the most important books in my life. It's called The Richest Man in Babylon, published in 1903. Something cosmic about 1903 for me. Can't tell you exactly what it is. 1903 is the year that Watkins was formed. 1903 was the year that The Richest Man in Babylon was written. 1903 was the year that Harley Davidson was formed, and I've written Harleys forever. There's about 20 things in my life that all centered down in 1903. And I can't tell you why, but someday I'm going to find out. There's something about 1903 for me.
Are fours a big part of your life?
Say it again?
Are fours a big part of your life?
Yes, as a matter of fact. 1903
is 4.
Is it really?
Yes.
Here we go. All right. So anyway, something about 1903.
From the mouth of babes.
I was really curious. So, here are the 5 laws of gold, folks, and this is my promise to you all. No matter where you find yourself financially today, if you will begin living, not knowing, if you begin living the 5 laws of gold today, in less than 5 years, you will have relative financial comfort. It's the truth. You don't have to make more money to have more money. You have to react and interact with the money that you have differently. That's what has to come first. And so the first law of gold is what? 10% of everything that we earn is ours to keep, and we must pay ourselves first. And so, Rich, the question that is posed, and I don't know if it's in the book or if it's reading between the lines that I get it, but what if you went back to 15, 16, 13, whatever it was, the first time you made money, what if you had just taken 10% off the top of everything you earned, clear from the first time you made money, and that 10% was taken off? Would that change the way that your financial world is right now?
Absolutely, a lot.
I mean, can you guys just all imagine that? And isn't it true that if we had earned 90 cents instead of $1, we still would have figured it out? We would have. If the check that had come in had been 10% less, we would have figured it out. We wouldn't have died. And the fact is that had we all, from the time of our youth, had we taken 10% of everything we'd ever earned and just pulled it off the table, our whole world would be different today. It all would. Now, we can't go back and correct what happened back there, but what we can do is start today. We can start right now. And by the way, I would tell you that those, if you are older than 50, I would tell you that it's a really, really, really good idea to not make that 10%, but to make it something greater. 10% of all we earn is ours to keep, pay ourselves first. But if the runway in front of me is not as long as the runway behind me, then maybe it makes a little bit of sense to add to that a little bit. And to make whatever required sacrifice must be made. Make whatever required sacrifice must be made. People don't like the word sacrifice. I will tell you that in my life, I've had a sum total of 0 positive outcomes without some corresponding sacrifice. The two go hand in hand. They cannot be separated. It is a part of it. And I don't believe that we're going to change that. I think that that's one of the irrefutable laws of reality of life. Changed results require sacrifice. So 10% of all that I earn is mine to keep. I must pull it off the table and pay myself first. And I've now been doing that since 2006. I'm telling you, everything changes. I made so much money year after year after year after year, and I didn't have any money year after year after year after year. Because what I had was Lamborghinis and Ferraris, all kinds of other stuff. But what I didn't have was an investment portfolio. And we've talked a lot about this idea of having a positive self-esteem, feeling comfortable in our own skin and feeling good. You want to know the single most esteeming thing? It is to have an investment portfolio instead of having debt. Life change, it just feels so different. When you're looking at, instead of your bills, when you're looking at your investment accounts, life feels so very different. But it has to start somewhere. So 10% of everything that we earn is ours to keep. We must scrape it off the table and pay ourselves first. That is the first of the laws of gold. The second law of gold is to invest it to invest it, not to simply stick it into the mattress. It says to give it gainful employment. Remember I talked yesterday about the idea that what we really want, what we search for, is the day when the money makes the money. If the work that you're doing, Jim, is paying the bills, there is no financial freedom in that. There is no financial security in it. If your income goes up 50%, there is no financial security in it. If what you are doing on a weekly, monthly, or annual basis is paying the bills, there is no security in that. It is only when the money is earning the money. That's what happens. When the interest, the dividends, whatever, the money makes the money. That's when there's financial security. And so, the second of the 5 laws of gold is not just take that 10% and to stick it in the mattress, but to find for the gold profitable employment. Put the money to work. Now, I'll give you a number that is a number you should not try to exceed. The second law of gold is to find profitable employment for the money, but the third law of gold is to invest it under the confidence of an advisor. If you are not skilled in the market, I mean, I would be a little bit surprised, for example, Jim has told me, he's been candid, he hasn't earned a lot of money up until now, not a lot more than it costs to live, and so probably don't have an investment portfolio, or so very small. Well, if that's true, if Jim were to suddenly start acquiring some money, then the great risk would be that there's all kinds of people who will call him and tell him crazy things to do with the money. And so Jim, I'll tell all of you this. If your income objectives are designed to cause greater than a 7% year over year after year compounded annual return, then you're making the money work too hard, and you're going to have too many instances where you lose the money that you find to be in saving. And so the second law of gold is to find a profitable employment. The third law of gold is to seek out proper counsel. And all this means for people here who are not going to have tens of millions of dollars, we can all use managed accounts in any one of the big brokerage firms. You can use a Merrill Lynch managed account, you can use any of them, Bank of America, literally any of them, JP Morgan Chase, Wells Fargo. You don't need to pay outside investment advisors because you can use, they're not free investment services, but they're very, very, very inexpensive, and they're managed portfolios. I used to be a stockbroker. I understand that game. I understand the rules really well. Do yourself a favor. Do not pick and choose individual stocks and bonds. Get a managed portfolio, and get a managed portfolio that is consistent with your age. So for example, Kayla is a young gal. It is appropriate for Kayla to have a moderate risk parameter because there's so many years. If an investment happens to go down, it can go back up. And so even though you may have you're a risk taker, well, if you're a risk taker and you're 50 and you're a risk taker and you're 30, there's dramatic differences in what is an appropriate risk. And so I will tell you that none of you should be selecting an investment advisor as one of the big names. Select an investment advisor that's a big name, and having selected that investment advisor, then select a managed portfolio. Don't buy and sell individual stocks, and select something that is moderate risk or lower. And if you are over 50 years old, select something that is low risk. Because if you try to make their money work too hard, the fact is that you're just going to wind up with nothing again. And so 10% of everything we earn is ours to keep. We're going to find profitable employment. We're not going to stuff it in the mattress. We're going to realize that, Jim, whatever you've done in your life, it's not been to learn how to invest. That's not been your world, right? So we need to find an advisor to teach us how to do that. In this case, we just have to use one of the managed portfolios that are readily available to everybody. The next thing we're going to do is we're only going to invest in those things with which we have some knowledge. And so if we're giving money to an investment advisor, that counts. We're investing in something that has knowledge. If there's something else that we feel compelled to invest in my own case, there are 2 or 3 things that would fit inside the 5 laws of gold. I know and understand the direct selling industry extremely well. And so if I chose to make an investment in the direct selling industry, that would be consistent with the 5 laws of gold. I don't know the technology world at all. And so not surprisingly, before I learned the 5 laws of gold, I had a great friend, a dear friend, one of my best friends. He said, Randy, we're going to start a company, we're going to buy a company, we're going to buy a technology in Hewlett Packard. The name of the company is Exegesis. And I get down and blah, 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 blah. Well, I lost $4 million. I don't understand technology. Me investing in something I don't understand is a horrible idea. And by the way, I didn't learn that very quickly at all, because after getting my brains beat out in Exegesis, another friend called. A friend, not an investment advisor, wasn't Wells Fargo calling me. Another friend called me. He said, Randy, we can buy Fila Golf. Oh my gosh, I'd like to buy Fila Golf. I know how to play golf. I don't know how to be in the golf business. And so I lost a few million more dollars. Do not invest in things you don't understand. It's completely crazy. And I will tell you that in this room, until such time as you have something more than $3 million in invested assets, I would strongly encourage you to do nothing except with an investment advisor and don't do anything outside that. Once you got $3 million with an investment advisor, if you want to do something different, fine, but don't bother. And then, even then, do it only investing in things where you have some degree of knowledge. And then finally, it comes back over here, I talked about this 7%. Do not ask your money to work too hard. If you ask your money to work too hard, if you ask it to make more than 7% on an annual compounded yield return, the odds are that you're going to lose the money instead of making it. Now those 5 laws of gold, those simple things right there, pay yourself 10%. Don't just take the money and put it under a mattress. Pay yourself 10%, do it first, 10% of every dollar that comes in through your door from now on. Boom, take it off the top. And whatever the bills are, whatever the house of cards is, it has to fall, let it fall. And take 10% and put it away. Then realize that that money needs to grow. If the money doesn't grow, it in fact shrinks, doesn't it? Because of inflation. And so if we just stick the money in the mattress, then the money's not growing, the money is shrinking. And so, even though inflation today has run up way too high, I will still counsel you to not try to get returns that are greater than 7%. Because if you try to get returns that are greater than 7%, you're going to lose money more frequently you're going to make it. Look for profitable employment, go to an investment advisor, and once again, you can use Bank of America, Merrill Edge, it costs you nothing, literally nothing. You can use Wells Fargo's Intuitive Investor account. You can use JP Morgan Chase, they have one called the Automated Account. None of them cost you anything, they're all free services. And there's absolutely no reason to not be using them. That's something we should all be doing, all of us. And then realize that if we're investing in things that we don't know and understand, that by definition means it's not an investment, it's a speculation. No one in this room should be speculating, literally nobody in this room should be speculating. And then finally is to not count anything greater than 7%, don't force unrealistic returns. If those things happen, then 5 years from now, believe it or not, you'll have dramatically less financial pressure if you don't earn any more money than you earn right now. 5 years from now, that's all it takes. In 5 years, the world changes. So, again, ask yourself this question: are you going to make that required change starting today? If you don't make the required change starting today, and if you don't make it tomorrow, by the next day, this conversation is forgotten. That's the way that it is.